Good afternoon, and welcome to my very first episode of The New Tribe. I have been spending the majority of this year not with social media in the way that I have been connected through social media over the last several years. And while that has been an incredible experience to watch this platform grow and evolve into something and watch from a perspective that is rather objective because I wasn't using it for anything. I probably have one of the biggest non-monetizing platforms, and I've had so many suggestions and encouragement from people over the years of ways that I could very easily monetize it. But for me, the wealth is in the connection and the learning that I've had the opportunity to do from all of my people over there that I've engaged with. But throughout the last year or so, as I've gone through some experiences in both my personal life and in the social media world, I've felt a widening gap in that connection between me and social media. And I've pulled myself away from it in a lot of ways. But it's still been very important to me to have ways to connect authentically and openly, and the platforms that we utilize for that space are not very supportive of those actions and experiences in reality. And so I've dealt with tons of shadow banning, and really a big part too is the identity stealing, and it is a very icky experience to see people utilizing your own image and trying to represent themselves as you. And I've heard so many times how people have talked to me on dating apps or met in other websites and things, and there's a unexpected heaviness that comes along with knowing that there are essentially clones of you operating in the cyber world. And it's incredibly violating. So I struggle now with how much of myself I want to give to that place, because I know for a fact that there are going to be people who just take those parts of me and turn them into something else. And so I've tried to remain somewhat connected over there, but it feels, when I think of getting on social media apps these days, it feels like when Mufasa took Simba up to the Pride Lands, or to see the edge of the Pride Lands, and they see all of the dark and desolate that are beyond. And that's how it feels when I think about going onto social media. So, with the help of the most wonderful human being who has come into my life in a phenomenal whirlwind kind of way, my boyfriend Zach, and I'll get into that whole experience and story here in the upcoming episodes. But he's such an incredible support to me, and as we have leaned all the way into really getting to know one another, he has come to see how a great way of supporting me is to help crank things up for me. And he created this space, he created this platform, and he is helping to produce everything here. So I want to say thank you to Zach for making this a reality, because without your help, I would still be just talking to you and saying, people have asked me to do a podcast. And so thank you for giving me my podcast. Okay, guys, so the new tribe. I've chosen to call this place the new tribe because my personal journey over the last, let's say, 5 years. It's almost 5 years now that my ex-husband and I split up and began the process of separation and transforming our lives. And we've been on an incredible journey over these last 5 years to define family in our way, what family means to us and for us, and what type of family experience do we want to give our children. Because regardless of our relationship, we are committed to our children together and still responsible for raising them. And so that's why I say over the last 5 years, because that's been the greatest space of transformation that I have had, stepping outside of the role that I had known as wife since I was 19. And then prior to that, I was a daughter. And for my entire life, there was this shadow of subordinates that I didn't really realize I was living under. And it didn't particularly bother me. I'm not any extreme or even really mildly feminist. I'm very traditional. In fact, having grown up way down south in Savannah, Georgia, and then being raised in an astringently traditional religion. So I was raised Mormon. So there's a lot of tradition woven into the culture and community that I was raised inside of. And there's a whole lot more that was woven into in the home I was raised inside of as well. And in the last 5 years, I have been examining all of the parts of myself that I have been able to meet and sitting with them and identifying if they're parts that truly belong to me or if they're parts that have been conditioned upon me or thrust upon me or in some way assigned to me that I've been carrying all these years that don't actually belong to me. And in the last 5 years, I have found that I have shed and let go more of my identity than I think I've retained. However, the parts that I have retained are the parts that have been the same, I want to say common thread, but it looks more like a thick metal cable, a strong line that every other aspect of my life and identity is woven around, and it is the umbilical cord of who I am. And the parts that have remained are the threads, the metal threads, the galvanized steel that make that cable. So what I found in this space over the last few years of dropping these false identities is such liberation, because who I have always felt myself to be and who I've believed that I am, regardless of what I've been told or how I've been expected to see myself, is who I actually am. And so for those of you who can relate and have also had this peeling back of all the layers of identity and really met yourself at your core, you may understand all that is lost in that space during that experience. And I'll get into the stories of this journey in time, but I can say that I am at the point now where I am putting back together the world around me. I've been building a new reality around my true self and my real desires and my true purposes. And in building that reality, I have had the sweetest experiences of serendipity that have connected me to the people who have really been meant to be a part of my life. And I have no association with them other than pure cosmic coincidence that somehow, in ways that shouldn't really happen, have happened. And these people have become such tremendous parts of my life. And I have been able to start to connect with my new tribe, the ones that I was not born into. I didn't grow next to them. I didn't happen upon them through circumstance of living in a way that was misaligned with my real identity. I didn't meet them in places that who I truly am would ever be in. I met them in ways that are authentic to me, in ways that surprise me. And this is in store for all of us. And we begin to discover that by giving ourselves permission to shift from being present and participating in places and activities and with people that we don't truly feel aligned with, and channeling our energy and our attention and our presence into things that we feel called towards. And throughout this podcast, I will be so grateful to share the people and the places and the things that have called me and held me through difficult times and difficult transitions, and just the slow evolution of becoming a new, more aligned, more correct, more authentic version of myself that was then able to connect with my tribe, with the people who are truly aligned with my purpose, my intention, my desire for how I want to experience life. And to give a little example of that, for instance, as a society, as adults, if we want to socialize, typically the first place and the easiest place that comes to mind would be to go to a bar and sit and hang out in a bar to hopefully meet people, or a coffee shop. But because we are who we are as a generation, we find it very difficult to openly connect. I spent many years of my life attending church, not from a desire for the doctrine or whatever the promises that the church had to offer me were, but for a desire for community. I went to church and I followed certain rules, and I accepted into my life certain expectations that were never, ever aligned with what truly felt correct for me, but it was in exchange for the opportunity to have community. And so through the process of removing myself from the places and the experiences that were not correct for me, and I knew I continued to struggle I was raised in the church, and I had difficulties and I struggled with the relationships of those people in the church as a child all the way into adulthood, and that spanned multiple states and multiple different church buildings and local communities. And I always knew in my heart that it was not the correct place for me. However, I didn't know what else to do. How else do I find people to connect with that by and large are pretty decent people? So this is my process of letting go. And it can be really difficult to let go when you have that feeling that you may be carrying slightly uncomfortable shift in your skin, the feeling that something is coming, something is about to change. And for some of you, there may be some excitement, and there may be a lot of joy to see what's coming. And for many of you, there is a fear. The fear lives in all of us, and it is fed by a world that wants it to grow. So as you sit with this sensation in your body that says something is going to change, remember that the fear will give us all kinds of reasons to believe that something is going to change in a way that we perceive as negative, that something is going to change in a way we feel like we want to run away from. But if you can meet this feeling with faith and excitement and love, you'll see that there's no way for you to know. You can feel this big change coming. We all feel it. If you know anything about the cosmos, the sun, the moon, the stars, all the planets, then you can look at a whole lot of explanation for why we're feeling this way. But whether you understand those things or not, you can also feel something coming, some big change. And so I invite you to examine the sensation in your body that just feels like there's something around the corner, and try and meet that sensation not with fear, but with curiosity and excitement and love, and follow that sensation. And in doing so, we often find some pretty exciting adventures, experiences, opportunities. Doors begin opening and avenues begin appearing that in this moment now you don't see. That's the importance of perspective. The perspective from which you examine your experiences, particularly your sensations in your body, have the greatest impact on what your experience becomes or what your sensation becomes. And there's so much science on that coming out now, and just this understanding that our mind has such a huge role in our health and our well-being and our state of being. And your mind is filtered by your perspective. And as your perspective shifts and changes, whether it improves or becomes worse, which is relative to each individual, you will begin to connect with new people. And if your perspective shifts to begin operating from a higher frequency and looking at your life experience from a higher perspective, then you begin to experience things from that new perspective. And you begin to connect with people who are also capable of existing in that same space. And of course, this is the same as well for a negative. If this fear catches and you begin to spiral and feel yourself get stuck in the heaviness, and this is why we call it depressed, because we are being depressed against the earth. Even the energy is so heavy, it becomes difficult to even move and use your body because you feel all of the resistance created by the depression. Ground. The earth is pulling you to the ground. Go lay outside on the ground. Our bodies always know what we need. Go lay on the ground and allow your skin to touch the earth. The Mother Earth is pulling you close to her so she can hold you. And the science will tell us that we're releasing all of these frivolous positive ions that we've picked up in the electromagnetic environment that we live in, and all of the Wi-Fi and all the signals and the things, and it's all correct. But we don't have to have the science. We don't need to know, because our bodies already know. Don't get me wrong, I am a science nerd, and I will always bring it up because I always really love to have that clarification. I love the mechanical understanding of what's happening, that when you lay your body on the earth and your skin connects with the planet that gave birth to you, and you have an energetic exchange with the source of our life. The things that we need to survive come from the earth. We don't need anything that's been man-made. The earth has always provided the food, the water, the shelter, the sunlight. Those are the only things your body needs. Everything else we've created. Some of them are fantastic. I am so grateful I'm sitting inside of a house right now while it rains and it's cold outside, rather than in a cave trying to keep a fire going. But it's important to remember that your body is still the exact same body that you would be in if you did live in the cave. And your body would be able to communicate the things to you that you now ignore unless science tells you you can pay attention to it. So just test it out. If you're feeling that density and you're struggling to have any energy in your body, go outside and connect to the earth. It's also super fascinating that we are learning so much about the importance of being barefoot, and how we've long known that the soles of the feet have larger pores and energy centers, and the bottoms of our feet are different than much of the rest of our body. And it is a place where we connect with the earth the most. It's the part of the body that connects with the earth more than any other part of the body. And through those little, even if you have a size 14 foot, compared to the size of the earth, it's pretty little. So through these little paddles that we walk on, whatever, these little structures of foundation that we have, They're designed to connect energetically to the source of life, and it heals us. Go read the studies that talk about how grounding for some 15 minutes a day helps reduce inflammation and high blood pressure and all of these incredible things that science is finally saying, hey, look at that. This isn't a new phenomenon. We're just newly aware of it. So I digress. If you have been with me on social media, you know that I can get real rambly and maybe we'll stray off topic a little bit. But all of that to say that as you go through these shifts, whichever direction you choose to go, we are collectively reorganizing, and in that mix up and shuffle, each one of us will find our new tribe. And this is just a space for me to find mine. And if you are a part of it, welcome. I'm very excited to meet and connect and get to know my people and share this space with each one of you, and hopefully with some of the people of my new tribe who I get to share day to day and in life, share real life experiences with, and hopefully I'll get to have some of them on here. But in the meantime, I look forward to chatting. If there's anything that you guys want to talk about, if you want to connect with me, if you want to come be a guest, let me know. We've got links and notes and email addresses and all the good things in the notes attached here. Zach's really good with all that stuff, so I'm sure he's got it all prepared. So with all of that being said, welcome to the new tribe, and I look forward to connecting with all of you here and getting to know those who are part of my tribe, and I'm excited to be a part of yours. Until next time, go with love.